it's an enormous effort being made by Bangladesh in hosting so many refugees from violence across the border. And we also recognise that there are even new arrivals to this day, which illustrates that the violence continues and that Rohingya living in Rakhine State still feel insecure. So unfortunately, this is a crisis that goes on and on and on despite the best efforts of Bangladesh and of partners like the European Union, where we are indeed trying very hard to support a political solution, which is the only solution to this crisis. We, the European Union, have imposed sanctions on members of the military regime. We have imposed sanctions on those we consider to be perpetrating acts of unbelievable violence and cruelty on their own population on the other side of the border. But allow me to speak a bit beyond the political wish we have to see a solution. So, in very practical terms, we are standing alongside your authorities in helping you cope with the refugee presence in Cox's Bazar. We have contributed over €500 million in humanitarian assistance since this wave of refugees started to come to your country. And the problem is that humanitarian assistance, once it's spent, it's gone. And what we are trying to do is to keep people's heads above water all the time. And given what we see currently in terms of the funding needs, there is an enormous black hole in the financing. So work is going on to try to prioritise what the international community can fund here. What is a priority for the European Union is to stretch our funding as far as it possibly can go in terms of meeting the needs on the ground. And this is why we are exploring with your government how we can try to give the skills to the refugees while they're here to be more self-reliant, so that when they go back, when circumstances might one day exist for them to return, they will be able themselves to not be dependent on aid on the other side of the border, but be able to look after themselves. What I have to say, and it's very important, is that we have many conversations with the Bangladeshi authorities. Those conversations always conclude with a common understanding that return can only be safe, dignified and voluntary. We all know that the refugees should go back one day. They cannot go back in circumstances where their lives are at risk. Now, the question on the definition of a corridor versus the definition of a passage, I am unable to give you an inside information. What I can tell you is that as a humanitarian partner for Bangladesh, we are quite happy to be pragmatic about how we can meet the needs of the refugees. If the refugees are here, we will meet their needs here. If they are on the other side of the border, because the situation might one day improve, we will also look at how we can channel assistance to them there, because it can be cross-border. We have done cross-border assistance in other parts of the world, and it can work, but it can only work when individuals are safe on both sides of the border and when governments agree. And those are the conditions. You cannot have a situation in which try to work in this cross-border way, but it merely attracts attention from violent perpetrators of crimes. So these are the caveats that I would want to see in place. Now, the second sort of set